Morning, good afternoon, good evening, Fabulites. I have questions for you. What opens with strife and distress in the Patterson family relationship, and what closes with love and happiness with Mary Jane and her boo? If you guessed Being Mary Jane Season 4, Episode 18, Feeling Destined, you're correct. Thank you so much for clicking on the video and sticking around to see how we get from opening to closing. I'm Angela, and the channel is Be Fabulous You. Let's go. Okay, so we got a flashback to a young Mary Jane, aka Pauletta, answering the phone at the Patterson restaurant. It's a hang-up. Not the first time, we can tell. And then we flash forward to today. We see Papa Patterson about to answer the same phone, the ringing house phone, just as it stops ringing. But then it starts again. He picks it up and he says, "She ain't here anymore. Frank, you can stop calling. Click." And then it rings again, and as he's walking away, and he comes back and he says, "Damn it, I said stop calling this house." And Mary Jane is like, whoa, Dad, it's me. What's got you worked up so early? And Papa Patterson is we find out that Papa Patterson is making an appearance on Good Day USA to share his Patterson recipe. And Mary Jane is like, you know that your car service is picking you up this afternoon, right? And Papa Patterson is like, "Oh yeah." And he's looking by the door, lying, I think, because I ain't seen no bags there. You see some bags there? And he's like, "You know your mom already has my suitcase by the door. The mom ain't there, so she ain't got the suitcase by the door." Right, okay. So then Mama Patterson, we see her opening a hotel door. Frank, so it's true. Paul did ask you to leave the house. Why didn't you tell me? Helen, I needed time. Frank, you and Paul have been together for a long time. Helen, I just need a couple of days. Frank, at the end of the week, I want you to come to NOLA with me. I want us to be together. Finally, after all these years. Helen, I'm trying to get ready to go to New York City. Frank, I understand. Okay, she's like, I don't want to talk about this mess. I'm trying to go to New York City. Okay, so then we see, but when we get back, he said, I understand, but when you get back, I want you to think about starting a new life with me and Nola. Okay, so then we see Kara observing Orlando on the phone, and he's like, I'll talk to my agent. Great talking to you. And Kara is like, Gumbel's producers, what did they say? And Orlando is like, it's not official. It'll be official on Monday, but they have a sports show in development. And Kara's like, kiss, 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 kiss. I'm so excited for you. And Orlando is like, I won't have you as my producer anymore. Or someone like Garrett. He gets me. He loves sports. And Kara is like, Garrett? Oh, brilliant. Garrett as your new showrunner. And then we see Paul opening the Patterson house door for Helen. And Helen is like, we got a plane to catch. Is your bag packed? And Paul is like, all this going on, let's just forget it. And, oh no, he's like, all this going on, I forgot. And Helen is like, I'll pack a bag. And Paul is like, I'll pack my own darn bag. And then Helen is like, well, I'll pack my own darn bag. This is Paul. We need to just cancel. We can't pretend to be happily married. And Helen, we can't have our daughter, the only black host, the only one without family. Now, this is a big deal, sir. And then Patrick enters. You still going to New York City? Pauletta ain't dumb. She gonna see this BS a mile away. And Helen, Patrick Patterson, watch your mouth. Now, we just gonna want to know if you are okay while we're gone. And Patrick, don't worry about me. You gone and have fun. Then we see Mary Jane texting Justin about him meeting her parents. And he lets her know that he's not going to make it. He's going to stay in Paris for a story. There's a knock at the door. Mary Jane is like, Mom, you're here. Where's Dad? Where's your luggage? And Helen is like, Pauletta, your father has asked me for a divorce, and I decided to give it to him. And then we see, the quote for the episode is, the truth is rarely pure and never simple. That's from Oscar Wilde. Then we see Kara and MJ, and Kara is like, your mom cheated on your dad, and your dad wants a divorce. And Mary Jane is like, and Patrick has a different father. It's my fault. What my mom describes, Frank, is like he's an addiction. And with me breaking up with Lee, my mom fell off the wagon. And Kara is like, huh? You and your mother are two grown behind women making choices. And Mary Jane is like, yeah. I do have an idea for the special, though. Are black women destined to be alone? And Kara is like, I got a conference call. Then we see Mama Helen, and she is calling Frank. Frank is like, you okay? Aren't you supposed to be in the studio for the show? And Helen is like, Frank, there is something you should know. I lied to you when you asked me about Patrick. And Frank, is Patrick? Helen, yes. A pregnant, unwed black mother in the South at that time. And then Frank is like, now I know why Paul and you got married so quick. And Helen, I wanted my child to have a father. Frank, does Patrick know? Helen, now he does. And about your troubles with drinking, too. He knows about that. It's all out in the open. And it's been such a terrible burden to carry for so many years. I guess you are done with me now. And Frank is like, no, au contraire. We have a son now together. We have a son now together, and it makes me want you more than ever. Come to know New Orleans and be with me. And Helen is like, ah. Then we see Mary Jane. She's getting a call about her embryo transfer appointment. And the caller is like, you broke up? Oh, did you want us to continue storing the embryos? Okay, we'll follow up with Lee. I'll see you this afternoon. Then Papa Patterson enters the office and they hug. And he's like, I wanted a minute alone. How are you handling the news? And Mary Jane is like, I feel numb. And Mama Patterson comes in and Mary Jane is like, now that you both are here, can you do this? And Mama is like, of course, your father and I have discussed it. We're fine. And Mary Jane is like, has anyone talked to Patrick? We found out we find out that Patrick isn't answering the calls. And then Kara comes in and she's like, Atlanta's in the house. And she hugs and greets everybody. And then she's like, okay, you ready for the segment? It's almost showtime. It's showtime. Then it's showtime. Then we see Patrick at a meeting, like a recovery type meeting. And Frank watching him from the back. Okay, Daddy, go on in there and get your son. And then Frank is like, I'm sorry to just drop in, but it's crazy times. Can we grab a coffee? And then we see Mary Jane on the set. And it's like the production meeting is like production assistant. The PA is like something, Mary Jane, 911. And then she and Kara go, and we hear the Pattersons yelling from down the hall, and they open the door as Mama Helen throws a mug at Paul. And then Kara pulls MJ into the hallway, and she's like, Mary Jane, you cannot put your parents on TV like this. And then Mama Paul comes out into the hallway. She's crying. She's slamming the door. And then Kara is like, just your dad. And then Mary Jane goes into the room with her father to tell him. And then Garrett walks up to Kara and he's like, the Pattersons okay? I mean, I haven't met them, blah, 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 blah. Kara's like, oh yeah. The mama, she got some stage fright. So we just gonna do the dad. And, blah, blah, blah. We gonna do him alone. He like, okay, good. She's like, so, Orlando got this show. And with the producers from the other guy, Bryant Gumbel's producers, and he'll be announcing his retirement at the end of the season, blah, 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 and they walk off. Then we see Mary Jane on the set and Papa Patterson in an apron on the air, and Mama Patterson is watching on the television, and Papa is like, well, I developed this recipe. Well, actually, the recipe is not mine. My wife Helen would sneak into the kitchen and fix it up. She would add this at night and add that, and I can't imagine making it without her. And Helen is watching and she's smiling. And then after walking down the hall, Mary Jane and Papa Patterson, Mary Jane is like, you did good, Daddy. And then Papa is like, it is a bit of a pill to swallow to know that after 40 years, I am still not enough. And Mary Jane is like, you need to talk to mama. He like, we talk. She like, you need to talk to mama. And then Patrick and Frank are talking. We find out that Frank has 20 years sober, and Patrick is sober a little bit more than a year. And Patrick's phone is ringing. It's his mom. And Frank is like, don't hold it against Helen. And Patrick is like, you were in the dark. You don't have a problem with that. And Frank is like, I don't hold grudges anymore. I've been in recovery for 20 years. And then he's like, I didn't stop drinking when she gave me the ultimatum. Then she wasn't in love when she got married, but she loved you. And she knew Paul could give you a better life than me. And she was right. And then we see Helen's phone ringing. And Frank is like, how's New York City? And Helen is like, it's good. How are you? And Frank is like, I spoke with Patrick today. I hope that's okay. You raised a good man. And Helen is like, oh, it warms my heart that you two are connecting. And Frank is like, should make your decision easier to come to NOLA with me. And Helen is like, I need more time. I hope you understand. And Frank is like, well, I've waited all these years. I guess I can wait a little bit longer, for us to be together. And then we see Kara in Orlando. And Orlando is surprised that Garrett may be interested. And Kara lets him know that, it may be if the producers give him creative control or, whatever. And Orlando is kind of like for show development. And Orlando is like, well, what do I do? How do I proceed? Do I just call him? And Kara's like, I will coach you, Poppy. That's what I do. I think they're leading up to her doing something like this as a profession, more so than being an on-air producer, but I don't know. Then we see Mary Jane at her embryo appointment, and the lady is letting her know that, Lee prefers not to come in today, and Lee also does not want to continue storing the embryos. You do have 2 viable, eggs or something, but so we can donate these embryos. We have 3 options. We can donate to another couple, we can make them available for research, or we can have them disposed. And the lady is like, Lee wants to have them disposed, but you both have to agree. And then we see a flashback to a young Mary Jane and maybe Patrick under the bed listening to her parents argue about Dad missing a baby appointment. And Papa Patterson is like, you just looking for a fight and I will not give it to you. And then we see Mary Jane flashback to her embryo appointment. And the lady's like, Miss Mary Jane, Miss Mary Jane. And Mary Jane, tears are coming down her face as she signs to have the baby / embryos destroyed. And then the doctor is like, you can keep the eggs you have stored. And Mary Jane is like, can we also discuss sperm donors, please? She's crying silently. It's just tears. She's not like, ah! But inside, that's what she's doing. And then we see Mary Jane coming home, and Mama Patterson is like, where have you been? Between you and Patrick, I have been worried sick. And Mary Jane is like, I've been at the fertility clinic, flushing your grandchildren down the drain. You were right, Mom. I sabotaged things with Lee. He was a perfectly fine guy. I am happy with Justin, and I just picked out a sperm donor for my future kids. You know why? Insurance. And because I'm looking for a way to sabotage this relationship too. You know why? That's just what I do. You know why? Because I learned from the best. I've been thinking a lot about these fights that you and Dad would have when I was little. They were about Frank. Why wasn't Dad enough? And then Mom is like, I always thought love was fireworks, not the steady burn your father offered me. And Mary Jane is like, so you tested him and tested him. And that's what I have done with every man I've ever been with. Come on, girl, get your therapy. Figure out your stuff so you can move on and be happy. At the last episode, we saw you happy. You're doing the work, Mama. Do the work, Mama. And then we're at work, and we see Mary Jane catching up with Kara. You were right. None of it is my fault. But I know what to do for the story. Black women are the answer for America. Everything that's a problem for the country, we black women have been dealing with. And Kara's like, it's not universal enough for Garrett to sign off on unless we get Beyonce or Michelle Obama. And then we see Helen opening the door at Mary Jane's place to Papa Paw. And he's like, our daughter insisted that we talk. And Helen is like, I know I hurt you deeply. I spent the first 10 years of our marriage pushing you away just to see if you would come back. And Paul is like, wow, I never expected you to own up to this. And Helen is like, now I see the effect on Pauletta. I thought the kids were protected as long as I wasn't with Frank. I still have love for him, though. I am the cause of our problems, just me, not us. And when I decided to stay with you, when we had Paul Jr., I stayed because I was deeply in love with you. What you said on the show moved me, and I want the damage to stop here. I'm not going to be with Frank. Paul's like, it doesn't change anything for me. I still want a divorce. And then we see Kara walking into Mary Jane's office, and Kara's on the phone. And she's like, can I call you right back? And she's like, Kara, Aaliyah says that there are rumors that Garrett is going to executive produce on Orlando's new sports show. Spill the tea, biatch. And then Kara is like, well, I didn't say anything because both me and Justin will be going up for the same job. And, you know, you and me and him and you and me and all of that. And Mary Jane is like, I don't make the decision. I'm not in it, girl. And then we see Patrick knocking on the door, Frank's door. And Patrick is like, you know, you weren't at the meeting, so I'm coming to check on you. And Frank is like, your mom just called and she's not coming to NOLA. And Patrick is like, I didn't know that was even on the table. And then we hear a woman in the background, come back to bed, Frank. Because he had said, I thought you was room service. He's just posting out in the hotel, nursing his wounds with another woman. And then Frank is like, don't judge me. Before I had a sliver of hope, and now all hope is gone. Then we see Mary Jane on the phone with Patrick. And she like, you have been my big brother for 40 years. You are crazy if you think that Frank coming into town is going to change that. I'll talk to little baby PJ because he is going to freak out. We are not our parents, though. We can say that this family drama ends right here, right now. And then Orlando comes into Kara's place and he's dancing and he's like, it looks like the show is really happening. Not with Garrett. He just got promoted. But there's no way you are not going to get his job. For the second time. Oh, and for the second time in the show, we see Kara kind of seeming to sabotage, you know, Orlando's desire to eat good. You know, she like, no, we gonna have good food. And he like, what about my diet? What about my health? You know, he trying to take care of himself. She like, oh, we gonna have whipped cream and strawberries and fried food and whatever. And he, you know, they end up sexing in the kitchen. So I guess they're gonna work that out, but it looks like something that's developing that we need to talk about this, because he wants to take good care of himself. You need to take good care of yourself too. Then we see MJ and her mom is packing, and Mary Jane is like, where are you going? To some other hotel? And the mama is like, alone time, girl. It's been a while and I could use it. And I know I've been critical, but I admire the way that you live your life through the bumps and all. Let me live vicariously through you. I want you to pursue your passion. If you want that man and you're passionate about him, go after him. Well, what if it doesn't work, Mama? Well, we won't know if it works if you don't go after him. Go get your man. And then we see Kara bursting into Mary Jane's office, and she's all excited. She's like, I just booked our dream guest. And Mary Jane is like, you're Beyonce. And then Kara's like, better. I just got Mary Jane will be interviewing the former First Lady, Michelle Obama. Ah! And then they celebrate and they are happy. Then Mary Jane texts Justin, and she's like, I want to see you. I can't wait any longer. I'm coming to Paris. And then Justin texts back, don't bother. And then he sends another text. He says, I wanted to surprise you, but I'm landing in JFK in a couple of hours. And then she smiles. This is the second time we done had happy ending. Good things are happening. Yay! So that was being Mary Jane. Thank you so much for watching, sticking with me to the end, subscribing, being a subscriber, commenting, liking down below. We're working on 200 subscribers. So if you aren't a subscriber yet, welcome. Go on and push that button and join the Fabulites. And today is the best day ever. Be you. Be fabulous. Be fabulous, you darling. Goodbye.